I want to talk to you about forming a habit that'll literally change your world.
밥 프록터는 시크릿의 실제 주인공으로 자기 개발 분야의 전설적인 인물입니다. 많은 책과 강연을 남기고 얼마 전 세상을 떠났는데요. 생전에 남긴 이 영상에서는 누구든지 완전히 바뀔 수 있는 습관에 대해 설명합니다.
I formed this habit a long time ago, and I'm going to tell you, my world changed like night and day. Work for me, it'll work for you. But before we get into it, I want you to come back in history with me to September the 12th, 1962.
For the eyes of the world now look into space, to the moon, and to the planets beyond. Our leadership in science and industry, our hopes for peace and security, our obligations to ourselves as well as others, all require us to make this effort, to solve these mysteries, to solve them for the good of all men. There is no strife, no prejudice, no national conflict in outer space as yet. Its hazards are hostile to us all. Its conquest deserves the best of all mankind. We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because that challenge is one that we're willing to accept, one we are unwilling to postpone, and one we intend to win.
Do you know what John Kennedy did there? Made a decision. That was a decision. It was a big decision, and it changed everything forever. Well, do you know, decision is something most people never really learn, and for good reason. Stay with me, because I'm going to show you something here that you possibly have never looked at before. This book changed everything for me. In this book, it's Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. There's 15 chapters. There's one chapter, the entire chapter is dedicated to decision. Now you may say, well, I make decisions. Do you really? You may make little ones, but you make the real important ones. Do you go after what you want in life? Do you get everything you want in life? See, the truth is, only about 3% of the people are really living the way they want to live, driving the car they want to drive, taking the trips they want to take, living in the houses they want to live in. Most people do not, and they'll tell you why they can't, and they'll give you a string of reasons a mile long. All seem very practical, very reasonable, and the leader of them all is they can't afford it. Well, the truth is, we live in the richest country in the history of the world. Money is the easiest thing in the world to earn once you learn how. Well, if you turn making a decision into a habit, you're going to learn how to do a whole lot of things you may think you can't do. Napoleon Hill said, those who reach decisions promptly and definitely know what they want, and they generally get it. And he went on to explain why we have difficulty here, for very good reason. Indecision is a habit, which usually begins in youth. The habit takes on permanency as the youth goes through grade school, high school, and eventually through college without any definite purpose. The major weakness of all educational systems is they neither teach nor encourage the habit of definite decision.
단 3%만 자신이 원하는 인생을 살고 있다고 하는데 이 3%가 되는 것은 매우 어렵게 느껴집니다. 어릴 때부터 우리에게 장래 희망을 물어보는 사람들은 많았습니다. 하지만 그걸 이루기 위해 구체적 목표를 정하고 결정하는 방법을 가르쳐주는 사람이 있었나요? 결심하고 실행하는 법은 배우지 않은 채 그저 흘러가는 대로 살다가 성인이 됩니다. 그리고 원하는 것이 무엇인지도 모른 채 전공을 선택하고 직업을 갖게 되죠. 나폴레옹 힐의 말처럼 원하는 것을 정확하게 아는 사람들이 일반적으로 그걸 얻게 된다면 많은 사람들이 시행착오를 줄였을지도 모릅니다. 우리는 살면서 결정하는 습관을 기른 적이 없습니다. 이것이 바로 우리들이 인생을 어려워하는 이유입니다.
Now, why is that? Well, the truth is, most people really don't know. You see, we've got to take a look at the non-physical side of ourselves. President Lincoln put that very well. He said, to believe in the things you can see and touch is no belief at all. But to believe in the unseen is a triumph and a blessing. Well, let's look at this. Making a decision, we're going into the unseen part of ourselves, using faculties most people don't even know they've got. You see, Einstein said the intuitive mind is a sacred gift. Well, he said the rational mind is a faithful servant. He said we have created a society that honors the servant and has forgotten the gift. What is a servant? Well, there it is there. It's our sensory factors. We can see, hear, smell, taste, touch. What are they for? They're to help us correspond and communicate with our outside world. Well, we've been gifted. We've been gifted with something no other form of animal life has. We have these higher faculties. You've got perception, memory, imagination, will, reason, intuition. I want you to shift your perception for a moment of yourself. You know, our good friend, the late Wayne Dyer, he put it very well. He said, when you change the way you look at something, what you look at will change. Change your perception. Do you know the reason most people don't make decisions? Because they can't see how they're going to get there. So what do? They keep doing things that they can see how they're going to get there. And that's why their life never really changes.
지금 아무리 힘든 상황에 처해 있는 사람이라도 인간이라면 누구나 인식 하나 정도는 바꿀 수 있습니다. 내가 원하는 방향으로 노력하고 있지만 매일이 똑같다면 그건 인식을 바꾸지 않았기 때문입니다. 그렇다면 이 인식을 바꾸려면 어떻게 해야 할까요?
Think of you. You are a mass of energy and you function on frequencies. That's what you are. Take a look at yourself. Here's a shot taken by Kirlian photography. Semyon Kirlian was a Russian who perfected a form of photography way back in the early 30s that'll photograph mass where you can photograph the energy leaving the body. There's a glow of energy around you. This physical thing we live in is a mass of energy. Well, we're going to be talking about the non-physical side. You see, a frequency is a level of vibration. Do you know vibration is a natural law of the universe? Everything vibrates, nothing rests. We live in an ocean of motion. Now, there's an infinite number of frequencies. Now get this. Let all these lines represent levels of vibration, okay? Levels of vibration, as we said, are referred to as frequencies. You and I think on frequencies. The highest function we're capable of. Now here's where you really want to pay attention. This, if you get this, if I communicate this effectively, your life can change, because it sure changed mine. We think on a frequency. And the frequency we think on dictates the results we get. If you're going to look at the unseen, you have to use the higher faculties. That's what Einstein talked about, the sacred gift. We can use faculties to look into the future. We can go into the future with our imagination and see ourselves where we want to be a year from now, and then bring that into the present and begin acting like the person we want to become. I talked to a young couple. In fact, I wrote about them in a book, Pat and John. I sat with them in a hotel in Toronto, and they said they wanted to buy a house, and I said, well, go on out and buy one. We said, we can't buy a house. We haven't got any money. I said, you don't need any money. They looked at me rather strange. I said, what do you need the money for? You haven't made the decision to buy the house. You see, you don't need the money until after you make the decision. Person say, I want to take a trip, and I'm going to go as soon as I get the money. You don't need the money to make the decision to take the trip. I'm going to start my own business as soon as everything's right. Things are never going to be right. You've got to make a decision. Now, you see, when you make the decision, everything starts to change. Go after what you want. Quit going after things you already know how to get. There's no real gain in that. Don't compromise. Go after what you want. It's not that easy, but I'm going to tell you something. It sure is worthwhile. Turn decision-making into a habit. And when you do that, everything changes. I didn't gain any business experience. I made a decision and bang, away I went. And everything started to fall into place. I opened offices in different countries, in different cities. I earned all kinds of money. I had money coming to me while I was sleeping, and so can you. In fact, you turn this into a decision, you can earn more money when you're sleeping than you'll spend when you're awake. Decision, it'll change your world.
밥프록터는 결정을 해야 많은 것들을 이룰 수 있다고 말합니다. 여유가 좀 생기면 영어 공부를 시작해야지가 아니라 지금 당장 영어 공부를 하기로 결정해야 합니다. 아인슈타인은 우리는 모두 보이지 않는 연주자가 멀리서 보내주는 신비한 선율에 맞추어 춤을 춘다 라고 말했습니다. 우리 모두의 주위에는 에너지가 있습니다. 이 에너지와 진동을 통해서 내 인생의 결과를 나 스스로 정할 수 있습니다. 우리를 스스로 좁은 공간에 가두지 않고 시야를 넓히고 크게 생각하면 밥 프록터가 말했듯이 미래를 창조할 수 있습니다. 의식적으로 내가 원하는 미래를 그리면 현재로 가져올 수 있는 것입니다. 밥 프록터의 말처럼 사람들은 원하는 만큼 결과를 낼 수 있는 능력이 있습니다. 하지만 대부분은 세상에 갇힌 새와 같습니다. 세상은 실제로 존재하지 않는데 스스로 세상이 존재한다고 믿고 그 세상을 벗어나지 않는 것이죠. 세상을 벗어난다면 내 능력, 창의력, 운의 영역이 넓어집니다. 결정을 내리고 일단 시작하면 처음 해보는 일이라도 성공하는 방법을 알게 됩니다. 그리고 돈도 많이 벌 수 있습니다. 우유부단함을 버리고 원하는 것을 쫓기로 결정해보세요. 모든 것이 변할 것입니다.